What is up, everybody? It's your boy Matsu here, aka Travis, and today I have another deck profile for all you wonderful people. I know I haven't posted in a while, and I'm sorry about that. I'm going to try to get back to a more regular uploading schedule as soon as possible. Unfortunately, I will not be releasing the special video that I had said I would be making. The project proved to be a little too hard to get not only everyone on to collaborate with, but also it would take a lot of time to edit and stuff along those lines. So I'm just going to move on and work on other projects in the future. So I'm thankful to everyone who submitted their videos, thanking the community and the community themselves. Thank you a lot for hitting 100 subs. Anyways, without further ado, let's get right into the deck profile. So I played Momo 1 Dot at the recent OCE online regional. I placed 7th seed after day 1, which is top 16, and then I lost in round 1 of top 16 to Zach Pasley, who ended up winning the entire tournament on Ojiro 1, or Ojiro 2, not Ojiro 1, my bad. And yeah, this deck was built to, I won't say counter Ojiro, because obviously I got absolutely destroyed by the Ojiros I played against, which was only Zach, I believe. Because we played in Swiss and also in Top Cuts, unfortunately. But this deck did have a, for the most part, good matchup into Ojiro. It was able to defend against it very well. They would have to draw multiple 1 with natures or 1 with nature plus snack time in order to break this deck's defense, which obviously, you know, happens sometimes. Yeah. So I was playing 2 copies of Raiding the Bone Hideout, so we are on a Command Pigeons block line, and this being an ally that we can build and flip to give +1 to our checks for the rest of the turn to play blocks, which is essentially flip for -1 speed for the rest of the turn, except it's something that our opponent can't really interact with, right? And then it also has the relevant text of discard a card, your good attack gets +2 damage. Which stacks very nicely with 1 with nature when we're just trying to get damage through because our character already gives speed. So this plus any number of 1 with nature on board is just +3 damage, +4 damage, stuff like that. Your Finish being a good deadlock enhance that we could also use to draw cards. For example, if we have an invisible infiltration on top of our discard pile, we flip it to draw a card, then remove it, bring it back in. We can do things with it later. 1 with nature, so it's only a 2 of in this deck because Momo doesn't really need the offensive stats to get her attacks through. The plus to block mod is nice, but we're already giving speed. So a lot of our attacks are just fast enough to the point where our opponent doesn't really want to block them, even if they have the availability to do so, especially in this meta where people aren't exactly running the best speed 8 possible because a lot of the defensive symbols are frankly being oppressed by the character name Ojiro2. Anyways, 4 copies is a small number. This card is insane in Momo. She gets to ready it for free anytime she uses either of her enhances. It also gives Cannon Blast, bonus stats, and is a free commit for Cannon Blast for when we do that. It gives Final Smash stats as well and Backalley Haymaker in our deck. For a new training method, so basically one of the coolest things that you can do in this deck is a lot of your attacks just build you a foundation. So let's say, for example, you play a Hardened Jab on a 4 as your first form of the turn. You check a foundation, flip, pick up the foundation you checked, add the new training method back to your hand to build a new foundation in, and you essentially just went +2 off of 1 card. Which is very strong. You could also do the same thing with Invisible Infiltration. And it blinks it back in, so you can then re-flip and commit to pick up another foundation at some point during the rest of the turn. 4 copies of it can be fixed. Stun decks are everywhere. One of the best ways you can defeat anyone in this game right now is by stunning them out and then just sending moves that they can't block, right? Because it's obviously a lot harder to block things if your opponent's tapped out. So having a way to stop the stun decks or slow them down a little bit is very important. 3 manly, passionate guy. Momo is one of the best blocks in the game. One of the best characters to block with. Just because she gives -2 speed on her face, and being able to block with any of your good foundations and then build them in is very, very strong. 3, passing the torch. This card just allows us to do a lot of things that we wouldn't normally be able to do. So if we know our opponent doesn't have any really good interaction for our foundations, we can just build our entire hand with reckless abandon and then say, hey, I still have 3 cards in my hand because I have Momos once per turn and I have a passing the torch to draw 2 cards. 4, precious lesson. Not really much to be said about this card. This card says after one of our foundations is removed or destroyed, so whenever we use Momo's form or whenever we use Momo's enhances, we can build the top card of our deck face down, which is really good because we can pick it up off of Hardened Jab, we can blink it with Invisible Infiltration, and Infiltration also triggers it as well, which is sweet. 3, Rising Starlet. I've never been a big fan of playing this card as a Fora because first of all, our character can tutor it. Create Bow Staff can tutor it from our discard pile. Which means at any point, if we just check it, we'll find it. And it's not necessarily the card that we want to draw the most, because it doesn't actually do that much while it's in our staging area, especially since it's your attack, which there are definitely turns where this deck just does not attack and is just playing good defense. So this card is just essentially blank. Unless we're obviously holding it in our hand, but we can always just pick it up to do that. We don't need to hard draw it. 1, preparing for battle. This is just a breaker 1 low block that we can pick up with our character. The eat, commit, discard a card, draw a card came up a few times, but not really that much. Yet again, just breaker low block we can pick up with our character. This card was the worst card in my deck. This card needs to not be in this deck. If I could go back, I would cut this card from the deck and put either more going out to fight some villains, another one with nature, another raiding the villain hideout, something along those lines. Because, well, it's good with Cannon Blast and it's good with training weights. I never really needed this card when I just have Small and Limber, right? Because the Small and Limber is essentially this card, but better. And like, yes, it is an ally, so we can build it off of Pigeon Flock, but that rarely ever even came up because I never wanted to build that card. So Specialist of Sound, self-explanatory, good response after we check it to confirm our next check, and it's also really good burst speed hate. Committing this and then destroying it with Momo is essentially -5 speed, which just makes most of the attacks in the game just kind of a free block, unless your opponent's like really has a lot of speed hate or a lot of speed pump. So like they have like a Justice Rush or something along those lines that has like EX for 1 billion, and then you let them get a lot of momentum. That would be a scenario where that happens. So manly. This was a really good one of. Anytime I saw this card, it was absolutely crazy. I don't think I'd play it at more than a one of though, because it's a unique, and we have plenty of ways to find it. Excuse me. It just says after you're dealt damage from an unblocked attack, you add the top card of your rival's discard pile to their card pool. So it can mess up combos. It is essentially breaker 1 for the rest of the turn. Card's just great. Going out to fight some villains. This card is crazy. This card is so good. This card is super slept on. Being able to build this off of Command Pigeon Flock and then having this as an enhanced flip for -3 speed or flip for -2 damage against 3 symbols in the game, very good. Especially considering one of those symbols is a Twisting Azure Inferno symbol, and if you're playing against Dabi or Tokuyami, it forces them to have another way to pump damage on board in order to get their Twisting to 7 damage, which is relevant. 3 copies of Mail Bonding. Mail Bonding is just a good target that we can build off of a Command Pigeon Flock poke on turn 2 that lets us tank some damage, rebuild our staging area, because Momo likes to exhaust her staging area a lot to play defense, so having a route to do that is very good. 1 Recovery Girl's Kiss, because I wanted to diversify my 0 lineup a little bit. while playing back alley, and making our back alleys into enhance, build a foundation, gain 1 health is pretty good when the game is going longer. So like if I'm playing a poke battle with someone and I'm taking a few hits, the 1 life from Recovery Girl's Kiss and the 1 life from Starlit really starts to add up alongside stuff like Quick Creation. 3 Pigeon Flock. To be honest, this should be a 4 of. I just didn't have the 4th one. I couldn't find it. I know I own a playset, but I could not find the 4th one. If I were to change this list, I would probably swap these numbers around because I would almost always rather see Pigeon Flock than Infiltration. Or I would just, I would cut Final Smash and just add another Command Pigeon Flock and play 20 attacks. Because this card only really does anything if we're playing, if we have a Passing the Torch on board, or if we were playing Destin, which we're not playing Destin, which is something that could be in this deck if you wanted it to, right? Just because being able to confirm your next check is very important in this character, or just find attacks off the top. Invisible Infiltration. This card blanks all of the good foundations in our deck. Being able to use small number twice is very good. Being able to reuse our Manly Passionate Guys, raiding the villain hideout, just all that stuff is just very strong. This card is very good. It also just is like a base 5 low for 6 if we use Momo's Enhance to give it speed. Assuming our opponent built to 4 foundations, of course. 4 Back Alley Haymaker. Best attack in the game, bar none, honestly. This card does way too much, and I hope that this card does not exist soon enough, because it really homogenizes kind of what you can actually build your deck under these 3 symbols with, because it lends itself to 2 specific keywords, or it lends itself to this good stuff package where you're just playing 4 Back Alley Haymaker, even though it doesn't really have a crazy amount of synergy with the rest of your deck. So, for that reason, I hope this card goes sometime soon, or gets an errata, something along those lines. But essentially being a 4 diff, 4 mid for 5 with stun 2 and EX, so it is as good as your first card as it is as on your 5th card. Just those kind of attacks tend to be not okay. So yeah, for that reason, we're playing 4 Back Alley Haymaker. Card's broken. 2 Cannon Blast. It's tutorable. It's our main damage move, our main damage source. It's how we finish out most of our games. It's just by, oh, I picked up a cannon last turn, I'll play this cannon, and then I'll pick up another cannon and do it again. Or like we'll play a string with like training weights where we're giving our stuff damage, and then maybe you overblocked and now suddenly this cannon is coming in for the rest of your life total. Hardened Jab. This attack is just free. This is another attack that's like, it's as good as my first attack as it is on my 5th attack. It just does so much. It is a free ready and a free draw, so it replaces itself. Like, the card's just insane. And it's got a 1 high block. Like, there's nothing you could actually dislike about this card. Bow Staff. This card is like Hardened Jab, but way more specific and niche. It's relevant because our character can tutor it from our discard pile, but it has a worse block. Technically, it has a better stat line. And the targets that it can pick up are a lot more niche. Final Smash. This card does a lot of damage, gets really fast in Momo, and in the games where she has her ideal game state, your opponent's going to be at 8 or more foundations anyways, or they're probably just losing. So having a card that stacks the top card of your deck, so you can draw it with Passing the Torch, or Preparing for Battle, it's another way you can actually do that. It's very good. Let's see. Training Weights. This card is a really good one of. This deck tends to get a lot of momentum with its pokes, so having a way to out that momentum for plus damage on all of your attacks is very good. Also, this deck tends to reset its foundations a lot during the turn, so you can just kind of do whatever with this card. Really, just make all of your attacks as big as possible and then kill them. Because like they have to block your like 6-7 damage back alley, and then your like 9 damage infiltration, and then you just blow them up with cannon for like 15 or whatever. Quick creation. It's a 3 of. This card is really good when you draw multiples, but it is also very tutorable off of bow staff and our character enhance. So I didn't want to play more assets than I had to, so I just played 3. Kota. This is a new addition to the deck, and in testing and in the event, whenever this card was on board, it was very good. The fact that he says your rival's next check to play a card gets -2 is very good. If your opponent gets super aggressive and then you like block their last attack and then they try to build, this will make them check bad on their build. And yes, they can fail it, but what are the odds that they also have another card they actually want to build after that, right? Because they've already expended cards from their hand to get aggressive with you, and now they're trying to build, so they basically have to fail it, which means they have one less foundation to block with on your turn. And Momo's just, it's very easy to protect this card in Momo because you rarely ever actually take 6 or more damage from an attack unless you really just can't block it. Earphone Jack being a 1 high block that we can pick up and build when we block with it, and it also readies our passing the torch or specialist to sound or a new training method after we use it, is very good. It is also relevant because sometimes against a lot of these 50 card aggro decks that are just trying to draw all the cards and go at you, you can actually just mill them out. Like I milled a few people out at the event playing this card just by pressing the button on every attack. Even though I don't get the speed, if it's not a charge, it doesn't matter because it still discards the top part of their deck. Onto the sideboard, I played 2 copies of Cheerleader. This was for Ojiro and basically just any deck that really cared about its enhanced step on the finisher, which is almost everything in the meta, or like on its opener. This card is just pretty generically good. It does require you to have a momentum though, which can be awkward sometimes. 2 Taiyaki Fanatic. This card was also for Ojiro. Being able to cancel Student of the Art and then pray that they don't have the rest of their zones naturally is a strategy that is viable. Which sucks to say, obviously, because when your strategy to beat a character boils down to, oh, well, I hope they didn't just draw the things because I canceled their most important enhance and then they drew the things and I died anyways, is not fun or fair or interesting, to be frank. Sense of Justice. This card is good against almost every deck that is relevant in the meta right now. There are a lot of like decks that are playing specific keyword. So like weapons are relevant, punch is super relevant, ranged is super relevant. Not a lot of people are playing these like good stuff attack packages that don't really share a lot of keywords with each other. Lost in Thought. This card is insane because it allows you to bounce your opponent's deadlock so you can build into deadlock, and then they have to take an extra turn to rebuild their deadlock. And if it's deadlock that doesn't do anything on your turn, then it's essentially like they didn't build deadlock at all. So you can just kind of go at them with 15 foundations or whatever, and you have a big enough stage to just delete them no matter what they do. It's also good to bounce stuff that you don't want to deal with, like One with Nature, stuff along those lines. The other thing that's relevant with this as well is we build so many face downs between Mail Bonding and Precious Lesson and Hardened Jab that we can pick up attacks that we build face down with Lost in Thought and then build a foundation for my hand face down. Anyways, thanks everyone for watching. I hope you appreciate the deck profile. Like I said, I will be trying to post more often here in the near future. The issue is just figuring out what I want to make content-wise. But I'll figure that out. Thanks everyone for watching. Make sure you go check out my Patreon where you can subscribe at the $10 level to get coaching from one of the best players in the world. Yeah, that's me. And yeah, I'll see you guys later. Have a wonderful day. Sayonara.
What is up, Matsu Nation? Thank you for watching till the end of the video. If you enjoyed, like, comment, and subscribe. And check out all my socials and my Patreon. I hope you all have a wonderful day, and sayonara.